When I talk to people nowadays, our conversations go around like, oh, how I wish I had more time to read, or how I wish to read more, or what's your secret for reading a lot of books? So, if you're one of those people, here are my 5 best tips in order for you to read more.
Tip number 1. Split your books by pages.
As a productivity nerd that I am, I'm always looking out for the next big system that I can use so I can achieve more in a narrow time frame. So this is why I decided to tackle the reading task in a very strategic way.
Every time I pick up a new book, I check the number of pages and decide on the time span I want to read that book. For instance, let's say I have a book that has 365 pages that I would like to read in 7 days. That means I take 375 pages and divide them by 7, so that gives me an approximate of 52.1 pages per day to read, so I can finish this book in approximately 7 days. You can divide the book by physical dividers, write on paper, or an app to keep track. If I miss my reading task that day, I try to recover in the following days the number of pages. Tip number 2. Set a time, an hour, and a place.
If there is one thing I learned about habit forming is that you need to schedule a specific time when you do that certain habit, but also to have a trigger that makes you do the habit.
First, you need to decide when you would like to read. It can either be early in the morning before going to bed or when you're commuting. Second thing is that you need to have the trigger, as have the book you're reading in order to perform the action. So keep the book or your Kindle on the bedside table or in your bag if you want to read. Basically, you're creating the perfect habitat for yourself to get started on reading. Tip number 3. Pick a topic that interests you.
If there is another thing I learned about reading is that you cannot read things that you don't like. For instance, if you pick up neuroscience and you read about neuroscience but you're not genuinely interested in the subject, you'll find reading to be a very, very hard task. The best book that you can read, it's a book that you really like with a subject you enjoy or you're interested in.
By keeping the habit of reading, as you start to progress, your taste in reading will diversify and you'll start picking up on different subjects and genres, which brings me to the next point. If you don't like a specific book, then try to read it through it all. Abandon it. Maybe it's not the time for it or it's just not your cup of tea. By reaching out for subjects or genres that interest you, the habit of reading will be more pleasurable. Which brings me to the next point. Tip number 4. Think about your why. What exactly do human beings get from reading books? Is it just a matter of pleasure, or are there benefits beyond enjoyment? The scientific answer is a resounding yes. Reading books benefit both your physical and mental health, and those benefits can last a lifetime. They begin in early childhood and continue through the senior years.
However, even with all the studies around, you need to remind yourself why you're reading. Are you doing it for entertainment purposes? Are you doing it in order to learn something? Are you doing it just for the joy of holding a book in your hands? It's very important to remember your why because it will help you when you fall off your habit. And then there will be a couple of days when you don't read, so you need to remind yourself why you keep doing it.
Tip number 5. Use audiobooks. I find that while commuting or doing mundane tasks, I like to keep myself entertained so that it makes the activity more pleasurable. I often turn to audiobooks for this and I enjoy listening to them. Another trick is that sometimes I tackle with the speed of audiobooks, oftentimes listening to 1.5 or 2 speed, so that I can go a bit faster through a book. This way, I manage to diversify my reading habits and also read more.
I'm a very avid user of Audible. I would like to say this video is not sponsored, but in case Audible, you're watching this, give me a call and we can totally arrange something. But it's also a subscription that has brought me a lot of value along the years, and I highly, highly recommend it. It helps me keep up with my reading goals. You will find a variety of books there. And overall, it's a very enjoyable app as an experience, and it just makes my life better. So I highly recommend it. Alright, so these were my 5 best tips for you in order to read more. If you found this video valuable, please hit that thumbs up button because it plays with the YouTube algorithm, and also it encourages me to spread the message and create more of these awesome videos. On the same note, I have another video for you with 5 best tips in order to achieve your New Year's resolutions. You should totally check that one out. I'll see you in the next one. I'm off to edit. Bye.